Hello, everyone. Jennifer Duclair, Bar Exam Mentor here, and thanks for joining and watching this Facebook Live. This Thursday evening, we're talking about rejection and how to transform it and actually use it for fuel moving forward. Rejection, I sent out the little introduction that talked about how failing the bar exam can sometimes feel like a personal rejection. After all, you have studied, put your money into it, put your time into it, you put a lot of years leading up to it. Probably difficult years when you think about the sacrifices that you made to study, and yet here this exam, the piece of paper that comes from it is standing between you and the career that you chose. This can oftentimes feel like a rejection, and the bar exam is not the only time that you would feel a rejection if you failed. You might feel a similar rejection when it comes to sending out your resume for jobs and not hearing back, or even raising your hand in class and not being called on, or going for that person that you would really like to date. There are lots of different areas where rejection can come up, and it can be a crippling feeling, because think about it. If you encounter a harsh rejection in a certain situation, wouldn't you be less likely to go full steam ahead when you encounter a similar situation down the line? I'm thinking about things like, let's say you're applying for a certain type of position and you don't hear back, and you take it deeply personally, and going forward, you either don't apply for those kinds of positions because you made up a story that said to yourself, well, I guess I wasn't qualified, or I guess they don't want people like me, or they don't like people like me, or the school I graduated from isn't good enough. Like, all sorts of stories you could have come up with that now keeps you from even looking at that type of job advertisement moving forward. Or you could say, yeah, I'll apply for it because you should, and chances are you are qualified, and it's just pretty much a roll of the dice. But you don't put your all into it. You don't really try very hard. You don't edit that resume the way you should. You don't take time to rework that cover letter so that it can look like you actually meant to apply for that job. Those little ways that you hold yourself back from going full force, so that if you don't get it, then, oh, well, it's kind of a defense mechanism. It's kind of a defense mechanism. So if you do that, you end up with something like a catch-22. Because if you don't go all out, that could very well be the reason why you were rejected or you failed. But if you do go all out and you fail again, then what? And that is a very real question. Then what? Well, the way that we work with rejection is not by saying, well, it wasn't meant to be. Because that's easy to say, but what that does is it keeps you in that whole life is out of my hands. I don't have any say in how this goes. And that's a powerless situation to be in. That's called victimhood. And so, well, it just wasn't meant to be, or whatever will be, or going down the line of what's worse, breaking out the shot glasses, or flipping on the Netflix series that you plan on spending 12 hours in front of, all sorts of negative coping habits. We will call it ways that we have of just almost trying to check out of the pain and the icky feelings that come with rejection. So, when it first occurs, you have those feelings where you just want to check out and you don't want to face it. You don't want to deal with it. That is the normal impulse of our ego. Our ego self it's not ego in a bad way. A lot of people talk about, someone having a big ego or being egotistical. An ego is a very healthy thing, and it's a part of us that guarantees, or not guarantees, but strives for our survival. It is the thing that causes you to feel fear when you are in a dangerous situation. It is the thing that causes you to avoid certain situations that just didn't feel good before. And it is the thing that is going to pop up and do its work when you face rejection. It's going to say, there we go. Let's not do that again because we do not want to feel this again. The ego is programmed to go towards pleasure and avoid pain. So when you first get that rejection, be it a rejection letter or your scores, you hit refresh, and then finally the scores pop up, and you look for your exam number, your exam ID, and you go over and you see whether you passed or not, or whether it's a rejection to your face by somebody who says, yeah, you're great to know, but I really don't see myself with you long term. All the different ways that rejection can come, your ego pops up and says, okay, let's not do that again. And if you experienced rejection earlier on in life, you've already got that programming. So you probably already are using those conditioned responses, which is what, the ego's rules and standard operating procedures are. They're conditioned responses. Probably already living your life according to that standard operating procedure, right? You probably already shortchanged yourself when it came to studying. You probably already let drama take over your life when you knew that you needed to buckle down. You probably already did certain self-defeating behaviors in preparation for being able to shrug off the rejection. And if that's the case, then we need to work on that. And that's what we're going to look at right now. So are you binge watching, smoking, drinking, otherwise running away from that feeling of rejection because you really just don't want to deal with it? If so, that's the first thing that you want to turn away from and actually say, you know what, I feel crappy. I feel bad. And now you want to find out why. And instead of saying, well, it just wasn't meant to be, or, this person didn't, close the deal with me, so I guess this just wasn't the person for me, or this wasn't the deal for me. Instead of that, you got a strong reaction in your heart, in your gut. You felt it, maybe right there in your solar plexus. Ask yourself, what does this feeling mean? And it'll come. So I suggest you take time to sit down and just quietly meditate and introspect and ask yourself, where does this feeling come from? What does it mean? And just let yourself hear it out. Now, the hardest thing, and I teach this regularly, is one of the hardest things to internalize, but you don't want to reframe it. In today's pop psychology, we are all big about reframing things and painting it to look like a better picture, You don't want to reframe it. You really don't, because that's not going to help you deal with the emotion. You really want to just let yourself feel it and hear all the explanations for the feeling that your ego provides. And it's like reading a book, like a fiction novel. You read it, it's done, it's over, right? You're not trying to rewrite the novel. You're not writing the author telling them they got the ending wrong. You just let it pass, right? This is not your self-help book that you read and you go and you try to implement, because these stories from the ego, they're not real. They're made up in order to keep you safe. If you experienced pain from rejection before, your ego has an encyclopedia full of reasons why you should not feel rejection again. You should not let yourself even near the situation that would bring up rejection. And so if you have all those stories going on, you're going to have some very plausible explanations and reasons why you shouldn't do this certain thing. Or you think them through consciously. You'll just kind of not do your best on the bar exam, kind of shirk the advice that your coach is giving you, kind of not pay for that the night before at the hotel so that you can be fully rested, or pay for the materials you need or the coaching that you need. You just kind of shortchange yourselves in yourself in all kinds of areas, and you have good reasons. Not enough money, not enough time, have to pay attention to my family member. And unless if you actually sit down with the emotions of rejection and just go into it, as we're discussing here, how to do that, Unless if you actually do that and start letting those stories come to light, you will very effectively fool yourself into thinking there is a very good reason why you're not doing the one thing that you need to do in order to pass. So, breaking out of that catch-22 of kind of holding back so that when you're rejected or you fail, you can kind of shrug it off and like feel easier about it. Breaking that catch-22 is not shrugging it off. But the very next time that you feel rejection, or you see yourself stopping yourself from doing something because you know rejection is a huge possibility, the very next time that comes upon you, stop, sit, and contemplate. What is it that I'm running away from here? What is the true aim of my actions? What am I trying to protect myself from? And then when that feeling comes up, that feeling is it. That's what I call the golden opportunity. You need to sit with it and really meditate and marinate in it. Why? Here's a very simplistic reason or explanation. Say you are afraid of spiders, okay? You're afraid of spiders and you're deathly afraid of spiders, and you even cause yourself to have a serious medical condition in response to being near a spider. How do you think you desensitize yourself of that fear of spiders effectively enough that you don't cause yourself to have a heart attack the next time you see a picture of one? Well, you have to sit with it. And all the horrific stories in your head related to spiders, you got to read the novel and see them and know that those are just your thoughts. And you are not your thoughts. And just because you're thinking it doesn't mean it's true. So you just read the subtitles here, this movie in your head, and eventually it breaks its hold. So I call it a sort of a desensitization process. So if the fear of rejection or the feelings that you get when you process rejection are so strong that it would cause you to put off taking the bar exam for 2 years or 3 years or 9 years, or it will cause you to only apply for jobs that, quite frankly, you're overqualified for, or it will cause you to not even dare to dream of what your dream life would look like you don't even want to think about it. If the fear of rejection is strong enough to hold you back in life that much, then this is something that calls for that desensitization process of sitting with the feeling, seeing the stories run by, and letting yourself become okay with that feeling. Not running away from it, not drinking it away or binge watching it away or smoking it away or all the stuff people do to numb themselves these days. Not any of that stuff. Don't do any of that stuff. But just let yourself sit with the feeling, observe the stories, stay with it until you feel it loosening up. When it loosens up, all that energy that you used to spend staying away from situations that might lead to rejection, now you get to use that energy for your goals and your dreams and for focusing on your studies. So this is how you can transform rejection into fuel and power to move you forward in your studies, with your career goals, in your relationships, and with any other thing that you associate with success. This is how you do it. So rewatch this video as many times as you need to make sure you got a hang on this very simple process, and then apply it. Reach out to me in the group, in the Facebook group, if you need further support and guidance while you do this. Thank you for attending. Thank you. And we'll see you inside the group.